Hi, Val.
Hi.
Okay, Val. So here's the hypothetical. You just started a 1-year fractional CMO engagement. What's the first problem most of your clients need you to start fixing? Or, what's the first problem you go looking for? Because you know it's going to be there, even if the business hasn't seen it yet,
Yeah.
right? So what's the first problem? And maybe before that, tell folks a little bit about you.
Okay. Well, I'm Val Brown, and I work in a couple of ways. I specialize in two areas. I take entertainment and dining brands global, like Hard Rock Cafe,
Nice.
and I build brand platforms and revenue diversification strategies for companies that want to extend their reach into people's lives and imaginations, like
Sure.
the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Cavern Club in Liverpool, which hardcore Beatles fans will know about. And if you live in a major market, you may know City Winery as well, which we have in New York that I've done a number of projects for. So, yeah.
City Winery is a great name for a company. It says
Yes.
exactly kind of
It
what
is a
you're doing.
winery and a
Yeah.
venue and a restaurant and an
Yeah.
event space. It's a fabulous place. Shout out to my client.
So first problem that they usually give you on day one, or first problem you go hunting for because you know it's going to be there, even if they
Right,
don't.
right. Well, generally speaking, it's usually drive growth. Um, that can be because they're having a problem. So I go in and troubleshoot. They may not have a senior marketer on staff. I tend to work more for existing companies than for startups, I would say.
Makes sense.
And and across different areas. It can just be, I mean, I had a recent project where it was really they had opened and their revenue was just not happening. And they had made some assumptions. I came in and I did an audit, of course, right away. But I also work for a lot of companies who have growth potential, but don't have the in-house skill to do that. That can be geographic growth. I work a lot in live entertainment and hospitality, dining, and they may want to grow within the United States. They may want to grow internationally as well.
Right. Yeah.
But and a lot of times this comes from me approaching them, particularly with the revenue diversification and brand extensions, because I will look at this brand and see that I think it has a lot of potential to go into other verticals, other product areas. And, that's very common in the industries I work in. Particularly dining, I would say, because certain brands have so many elements to their brands. Like if I take City Winery, for example, right? They have different products, different events. Um, and they don't have the skill. And so I do creative proposal for them as well as strategic proposal,
Right.
just imagining what could happen. But, I think I'm already getting into the second question. So perhaps I should let you
Well, yeah, I
ask
usually
it.
like to ask her. I'm predictable, right? So I'm predictable. At this one, I
Yes,
like
it
to ask,
is.
besides
Yes.
sort of like sharing information with you, like how does a CEO or a company get maximum value out of a new fractional CMO that they just brought on board? Or how do they waste the money that they spend on the fractional CMO because they don't do X and they really need to
Well,
do
they waste it because they don't implement the strategy, which we
Oh,
can get to later. But I'll just say it's very common. It's a big frustration of a lot of CMOs, a lot of consultants, and McKinsey actually published a study. I was surprised they did this, but that 75% of their clients do not implement the strategies that they do, for 6 and sometimes 7 figures. So,
right.
which is amazing. But the most important thing for me, particularly because I go into an existing company quite often, is to have clarity and to tell people what's going on and to not, I work a lot in SMEs. I work for a lot of founder CEOs, and sometimes they don't want to deal with, a marketer they think might be underperforming or whatever. And so they just kind of plop you in and say, here, she's going to help us. And it's really unfair to the staff, to the marketing staff and the other senior staff, because I want their buy in. I'm going to be interviewing them,
Right.
about their interactions with the department. And so that's the hardest thing. And, um, because when you start off like that, people think, they feel threatened. And I do everything I can to dissuade, to discourage them thinking like that. And so to be clear about what the goal is, and, really, I'm a marketer too. I have compassion for this marketing department, right? That their job is difficult. And, there are all different things you find in existing staffs. Sometimes they haven't been given professional development, and there's an
Right.
opportunity to just, train them up. And
Well, let's
sometimes,
dig into that for a second then.
yeah,
Let's imagine that a peer or colleague of yours, like actually not really a colleague, because very similar to copywriters and project managers, which is how I
yeah,
was before, and fractional CMOs tend not to work with other fractional CMOs at the same time. Like, why would you
right,
need two project managers, right? Like
right.
two Fs. So like if you were gonna like pass along a lesson, someone said, "Hey Val, I finally got my first big gig. Right, it's gonna be a year long. Gonna
Mhm.
start tomorrow. There's already junior and mid level marketing folks in there, but no leadership. And so, like, what like one or two pieces of advice do you have for me, or warnings you have for me as I walk into an existing team?"
Um, I think you need to be inclusive to start. And they're my most important resource, first of all, for the research stage of the business. And I meet with each and every one. And, as I said, senior management. And just so that you create an environment that is collaborative. I'm a leader, but I'm also a collaborator. That's
Right.
how I operate. And, to just develop some level of trust and comfort. And, you know, of course, there are times when you think somebody has to go. But for me, I want to really see first if it's a lack of skill generally, or if they've been underdeveloped. So that's one side of it. And, you know, beware the CEO in a way, because sometimes the problem is the CEO,
Yeah.
and that's a difficulty, and so I would, advise them to, find ways to speak, honestly, or palatably, to the CEO, when you spot problems. That's, I think that also happens more in SMEs, certainly in founder-led companies
Right.
as well. And so that's another thing. But, the first thing is just like a huge audit and research, for me, unless there's an extremely specific remit, you know. I don't think I would go into a job where, they already think this, and this person and these other two should be fired, and I come in as the hatchet man.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in that, you know. I'm
Plus, you can't
creative.
rely on their judgment for that.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't
And
know how to run
exactly.
marketing. They don't know if the
Well,
people in there should be doing the marketing.
yes. And, a lot of times there should have been a senior marketer for
Yeah.
a long time. And so it's unfair to them. I think also this kind of gets a little off the topic, but it's very hard when, in smaller companies, because everybody thinks they're a marketer.
Yeah.
Not everybody thinks they can go in and give advice to the COO, or go in and
No.
give advice to the CFO.
CFO. Right.
Yeah. But everybody thinks they're a marketer.
Yeah.
And sometimes the marketing department, it's the more, especially in the kinds of businesses that I work for, because they're live and there are events and there's some flashier element to it's the more creative
Right.
um, department in the company. But people weigh in, CEOs come in and change things and want to do this, and I have a great idea, and you know it takes you off the strategic
Right.
plan that you have, which is, sometimes we have to adjust. Obviously we have to adjust strategic plans, but that can make it hard as well. So, you have to understand when you come in as well, like find out what the marketers have been up against.
Yeah. For all you know, they have like 4 different bosses from 4 different
Oh,
departments
yes,
that aren't even marketing,
absolutely.
right? The head of sales drops
Absolutely.
in, or the head of sales EA drops in and says, "Hey, like you need to do this. We need an ad for that."
Absolutely.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what the
And
all right,
I,
so let's talk about that person for a second then, right? So let's like flip it around. It's Sunday
mhm,
and you just got a note that an email, you're checking your mail, that
mhm.
the next day a fractional CMO will start
Ugh,
at your company, right? So you go and Google fractional CMO because you've never heard that term before,
mhm.
and then you realize what that person is, and then like what should you be thinking? What kind of changes might you expect, or what should you be thinking about for your own career, or how to take advantage of the opportunity to work with someone really senior, even if it's only fractional, part time, or whatever, right? From that junior or mid level marketers like perspective, like what's next?
Oh, well, hopefully that email is not the Sunday night before,
Eh,
but oh my gosh, see it as an opportunity to learn and to grow and
right,
to you don't know until you've met the person and
right.
the CMO, but and to be mentored, even to develop and see if it could be an opportunity. And also I think sometimes staff are hesitant to do this, but say that to the CMO. I think I need some work in this area. I'd love,
Right.
I like this
They're
company.
afraid to show weakness or gap.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Vulnerability, like no, no, no.
Yeah.
And that was a big problem for me in my career. Oh my
Oh, yeah?
gosh. I thought I had to know everything. I pretended I knew everything and I didn't learn. And I didn't ask a mentor because I thought I had to be perfect already. And so, hopefully people are a little more open about that now as well. So yes, and I also wanted to say, getting back to the last question, because this everybody weighing in on the marketing department,
Yeah.
with how it should be done. Um, I'll go out on a limb here and I'll say part of that might be because it's a predominantly female profession. So you can edit that
Marketing, you
out
mean?
if you want.
You mean marketing?
Yes.
Actually, I was just talking to my wife last night, and I don't know why it took me so long to realize it, but I said, I know from all the marketing people that I have on the podcast and invite and talk to and stuff, it's roughly 50-50,
Depends
but
what you read.
predominantly, I mean, no, I don't mean like
Yeah.
generally in the industry. I mean like just my own. I reach out.
Oh,
I
yes,
I
yes,
don't
yes, yes.
care or know
Right,
what gender they are, and then they show up and we talk
right.
about whether it should be on the podcast. So it's roughly 50-50. I said, but even though it's roughly 50-50, my client I'm not a fractional CMO, right? So
Right,
I'm usually brought in by a fractional CMO or an ad agency about 1 out of
right,
4 times, 3 out of 4 times it's a fractional to work for their client, right?
right.
Uh, Something like 70% of my clients are women.
Exactly,
I just am not hired as much by men for whatever
exactly.
reason.
Yeah.
And so it's like either there are more women working in marketing, I told her, and that hasn't been the people who show up in these meetings with me, or I just get hired by women and I don't know why.
I actually double checked the stats yesterday and it is
Yeah.
about 70%.
Well, there you go then. Fine.
Yeah. So, and PR probably even more,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Women are good communicators.
Yeah.
So, right, for good or bad. It's
Yeah.
probably just how we've all been, both sexes have been socialized. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
So
So,
every season has sort of its own coterie of questions that I
mhm.
ask, right? So season one's questions were different. Season two is different. This is the most controversial of all the questions that I workshop. In that,
Okay.
50% of the people, of the fractional CMOs that we go back and forth, like, what do you think about this question? 50% said there's no point asking this question, Dean, because it's always option A. And then the other said there's no point asking this question, Dean. Everyone knows it's always going to be option B. And so I said, well, if everyone
Gotta
knows
ask it.
what it is, that's a great question, and I absolutely will ask it. So I mean, if I'm a CEO, for instance, should I be looking at a fractional CMO engagement as a sprint with a defined date and targets and like, blah, and we're rushing towards it and like, all out till we get, or is it a marathon? Apparently, half of everybody knows that it's one and half know that it's the other. So which one do you know?
I mean, I know the one where quite often I have a very specific remit, and
so
it's
sprint-ish,
yes, and strategy, like give me the strategy, right, which takes a certain amount of time, and sometimes sometimes if they want to, it's a great testing ground as well. If they want to bring in a really senior marketer, if they have the budget to do that,
right?
You can segue into that if it's something you want to do. But I would say also for the kind of longer term fractional CMO, I mean, you can success yourself out of a job. Yeah. Like if you go into a startup, or a company that's in high growth mode and is bringing in, funding and all of that, they may want to, after a certain time, hire a permanent, fractional CMO, and you may or may not be the person, right. So when they have more money, that's when things can change as well. And again, you may not want to go in-house. I mean, you've really seen how the sausage is made by that time.
Yeah. You might like the variety or the variety of problems to solve that.
I mean, I have to say, I do like that. I mean, it takes more business development, unfortunately.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
But I like diversity. I like working with different people. I like different challenges, different, creative and analytical, and different markets. I lived in the UK for many years on and off. And so my client right now, my biggest client right now is out of the UK. So, and I love that as well. So.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time working for an Irish company, and I worked in product marketing for a while there. And one of the other people in product marketing, he came to me once and he said, so Dean, pretty much all the gurus and all the marketing, even textbooks and stuff, and all the famous marketers, they all tend to be American. He says, why is that, you think? And I said, you know what an Aldi is? Like the supermarket Aldi?
Yes.
Okay. So they have Aldi. Aldi is a European company, so they're all over Dublin as well.
German.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, you can go into Aldi, a few blocks, down from here, that office. And you can go to the aisle where it says beans, where they have the canned beans, and it'll say beans, 99 cents. Like they use the euro there, so it's 99. They have cents, right? I said, it would not be out of place to walk into an Aldi in America or any supermarket, and it says beans, 99 cents, exclamation mark. We can't even not put a sizzle on a can of beans.
Yeah.
In America, they have a saying: the only place you can go to get away from advertising is to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So it is the most competitive marketing environment of all time, and that's why most of the marketing concepts and gurus and experts tend to come out of that area. It just makes sense.
They have to. I would say also the American person, because I've dealt with like all different cultures. The American personality is very outgoing personality, and it's a very
optimistic.
Yeah, we were colonized by people like who had some courage, right? They were seeking. Some of them just wanted better, monetary opportunities, and so we were trailblazers, frontiers people, and so that's part of the culture as well, which I think lends itself to that.
I'm writing my new book. The working title is "What Your CMO is Trying to Do," and it's based off a lot of what I learned from you guys after 100 plus. Right? Basically, it's a book for CEOs and boards about what the CMO is trying to do, whether or not they're succeeding. Right? And at one part in one chapter, it says, people who aren't customers yet, and I say yet because, like sales, marketing is full of optimists. It's the kind of job where if you're not an optimist day to day, it kills you.
Yes, exactly.
And so very similar to sales, it's full of optimists who think that you can do one more thing and push one more metric and have one more idea, right?
And even with all of the data we have available to us now, there's still a lot of uncontrollable factors in marketing. you know, down to, I mean, with you, like messaging. That's not, I mean, some people would like to think it's an exact science. I do not.
Oh, it is not.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Exactly. You know, and consumer reaction. You can't predict everything.
Nope. Testing is important.
Yeah. Oh,
Because you
yes,
don't know.
absolutely. You know, that's actually one of the things with working in SMEs that can be tough for CMOs is sometimes they're research averse,
Yeah.
right? They don't want to spend money on research. So a lot of times I'm just left with what I can access, you know, online, really. And probably less ready to do A/B testing. And, you know, it's kind of a down and dirty as well, you know,
Yeah.
especially when you're working with founders still.
I wrote a cold email campaign once. Cold as in like not a single person had ever heard of this client and was not expecting to receive an email from them. And one of them had a 91% open rate on a cold list. And the two things that I realized is I was running an A/B test, and that line I decided to do an ABC test. So I like literally it was a throwaway. I had no idea that it was ever going to work. I said that might be interesting. So no way to predict. And secondly, I looked at that and I say I can never show a client any other prospect that I got a 91% open rate because the first thing they're going to say is, "Well, I'll have some of that, please. Thank you."
Oh no. Okay,
Right?
first of all, I want you to send me that because I'm
The
gonna.
subject line is I'll give it away. It is I think you know my client. It's got almost everything in it, right? It's got FOMO, it's got familiarity, it's got social proof, right? In just a few words. It's my second best performing subject line of all time.
Okay, you're gonna tell us your first best?
Yeah, sure. It's a subject line that refers back to the 91% one that I just gave you.
Uh-huh.
And it's called the sales letter with a 91% open rate.
Oh my God.
That one crushed it. It got a 96% open rate.
Oh my God.
I know,
Okay.
right?
I've noted these.
Feel free to steal them. I'll never
And
use them again. So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. Um,
they're a little gift
but
for the audience there.
exactly. Yes, as well.
Now my inbox is going to be flooded with a whole bunch of different companies using the same subject line that I wrote.
That's right. And it's gonna
Yeah,
lose its power.
yeah, exactly. It's another one of these 91% open rate ones. Yeah,
Exactly.
forget that. I'm done with this. Open rate's like 3%. This thing doesn't work. All right, I think that's it. Thank you so much for being here, Val. This was really fun.
My pleasure. I loved it. Thanks,
All right.
Dan.
Oh, who should be contacting you these days,
Um,
and how would you like them to contact you?
They can contact me through my website, which is
Okay,
valbrowngroup.com, or my email, which is val@valbrowngroup.com.
you got to keep it simple.
And yes, and you know, it's generally CEOs of small and mid-sized companies
Right.
who are either having some problems with growth or want some ideation on growth or to hear my ideas about how I think they might be able to grow, you know,
Yeah.
diversify their revenue, go into other markets.
All right. Perfect. All right.
Great.
Thank you so much, Val. Thanks everyone
Thank
for
you.
watching. See you next
Take
time.
care. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.